Yo, what's good, Flow State Jedis? Check it out. Got cows in the background there. That's wild, huh? Goes to show you we're transcendental players on this game of life. Let's get it. Today is day 4 of Multidimensional March. I'm a Flow State coach and catalyst, Sumat Chatterjee. If you're watching this video for the first time, welcome to the channel. If you're a Flow Jedi, you already know we're gonna be talking real deep today about the unfair advantage. Now, the unfair advantage is something that you have that nobody else has, okay? It's not easily replicable. Nobody can copy you. Nobody can, take it, copy paste it somewhere else, because it's a quality that you possess, a strength that you possess that integrates very readily into your value system. And the way that I want to simplify this, okay? I want to simplify this in your mind so you can get it. It's basically where others are struggling, you are playing, okay? Somebody else is doing that task, and to them, it feels like work. It feels like pressure. It feels like a burden. It feels like force. To you, it feels like play. It feels like power. It feels like ease. It feels like effortlessness. You get what I mean? So, first of all, it's the perspective with which you're coming from. If you think that that task is way too challenging already from the get-go, you might have programming that's actually keeping you there, okay? And a lot of the programming here on this planet is here to keep you stuck, man. It's there to keep you stuck. It's not there to keep you thriving. It's not there to keep you vibrant and effortless. It's there to keep you stuck, okay? I had to go through at least 10 years of social programming, just because I've been to many different other cultures. I've lived in many cultures. Thailand, Switzerland, a year in the US, not a year in the US, a year in London, and 4 years in the US, right? And so, knowing that, I have this multicultural perspective, and I understand how different cultures, are able to experience life. It's very different than how regular people are experiencing life, right? Because once you're able to take from different perspectives, I noticed my fashion style changing, as I was in London and I was shopping at Top Man, and I started to listen to more grime music. My mind changed. When I was in Switzerland, there's the French rap hip hop scene, right? That was just had a life of its own. I was kind of more into the skater surfer culture back in middle school, right? When I was noticing the fashion style deviate and the puka shells and all of that, right? Then I noticed that when I was in Thailand, completely different style, okay? This was kind of a free-for-all, but also we had uniforms back then, right? So imagine going to high school in a uniform, bro. That was my experience, but guess what? We as Flow State Jedis, we found a way to still be non-conformists, okay? The school was called Mist, and we had the song that we made for one of our projects. I don't know if some of you cats from high school can remember this. Amar and Nish was there, TNT was there. We had a friend called TNT, right? He's a breakdancer. We had an eclectic group, right? Of these guys who were just gamers, right? We were just gamers. We would just go and have these LAN parties, right? Where we play like Counter-Strike, stuff like this. But anyway, besides that, we made this song once for like a personal project of ours, right? And it was like, are you a conformist? Are you a pardonist? Do you buy all of these brands? Right, that song. So we just kept vibing, right? We kept vibing to this song, and it was quite epic. It was quite effortless for us to make up that song. But now thinking back to it, you know what? I was a little bit of a conformist, and I think we all are, in some level. We have normie tendencies, even though we like to say that, oh, I'm not an NPC, I'm not this, I'm not that. We still have those tendencies within ourselves, and we've got to really shake into the personality that we truly prefer, okay? I'm saying shake into and not rewire or reprogram, because that implies that there's something wrong with me that needs to be reprogrammed, that needs to be rewired. I'm trying to be more conscious of my language, man, you know what I mean? Like, if I'm saying I'm gonna rewire my brain, what's wrong with the wiring? You get what I'm saying, man? So it's like, we have to change into the language of the priest beast. And the language of the priest beast is very different. By the way, Savage Shaman Seminars is dropping soon. I'll give you guys a notification for that. We also have a 5-day matches in today's challenge, as well as we have another thing coming up, which is more so experimental, but it's more so Primal Sutra body mechanics, body kinetics, body mechanics, you know, stuff like this. So that's going to be also epic. That's going to be very powerful. So coming back to this idea of like shaking into the, or let's say dissolving into the identity that you truly prefer, rather than reprogramming yourself, right? Because there are parts of you that are already badass, that are already awesome. You don't need to reprogram those things. You only need to reprogram those things that aren't serving you. So why not dissolve what does not belong? It's not a process of learning, it's a process of unlearning. We have a bunch of shit in our minds that does not serve us anymore. And we keep holding on to it and actually feeding that, right? Feeding it for no apparent reason, because we think that it's gonna help us, whereas maybe it's not. You know what I mean? So that's the thing, is you've got to really understand how you can become that person who speaks into the listening of their audience. Your audience has a language of their own. You get what I mean? Your audience has a language of their own. But you've got to invent your own language, the priest beast language, that states that this language is different from any other language. You know how they say shake it off? An animal can literally get into a negative state, get into the rain, and you see a dog doing this, right? It goes, right? And shakes it off, literally. And a lot of us, we feel like we don't have the capacity to do this. But we really can. You get what I mean? We really can. It's up to us to decide what this world means to us, because we are the meaning-making machines of this thing. You get it? We are the meaning-making machines. We're the one who add value to what is being said and what is being interpreted through this mechanism. So let me talk to you guys a little bit around this idea of social conditioning, okay? There's a couple of things that I've noticed that I did in my past that was a part of my basic programming. And this is no way to be racist. This is no way to, you know, put you guys down or anything, because I have love for my brown brothers and sisters. You know, I have love for my Desi cousins, my Desi people out there, my brown peeps, okay, my payas. I feel you guys. But listen, the stereotypes often state the Indian people are smelly, okay? We don't smell good. Now, I've noticed myself unconsciously, right, tapping into this paradigm by not really showering well, not really wearing, you know, odorless deodorant, but some kind of like Axe body spray or something, right? We used to have these bad habits in middle school that carry on into our adult lives, and we don't realize that we're actually at an age now where we can buy refined cologne and change our lifestyles around, right? And be in a different way than we truly set for ourselves. So this is really what it's about, man. You've got to understand your paradigm and how you can change from the inside out. Now, if you guys notice, okay, hold on one second. Let me put this down here. So, let me just tie my hair up, bro. One sec. These are things we do to avoid distraction here on this game of life, okay? Let's see if this is a good place. Okay, solid. So, I'm on a sacral chakra path working, okay? So today I'm gonna decide to teach you a few things that will shift you out of that suppressed lower basal energy that often makes men scattered, fatigued, you know, lustful and horny for no reason. You need to let that energy permeate, okay, and connect with you in a way that is truly potent, okay? So we're creating more potency here. I wonder if I can change where this is actually, so you can see it very clearly, because the sun is coming from this side, this side, this side, this side, okay? Okay. So, bro, let me tell you something, okay? So, being on this path working, I've learned a lot. I recently started something called Jin, okay? It's a Chinese type of self-healing where you are basically tapping your body, okay? Stretching the ligaments and tendons and just getting more blood flow and tapping into your body, okay? So one of the things you can actually do is work with your legs, and you know, a lot of the Indian guys that I know don't have nice genetics in a sense, so we always blame it on our genetics, right? But there's things that we can actively do to raise our energy, like on an energetic level. We gotta understand that us Indian guys were very, very powerful, okay? In terms of our intellect, in terms of how we move through the world. There's a lot of secret ancient Vedic wisdom that is stored in our epigenetics and in our lineage, right? There's things that you can access as a brown man that is important to your ancestral lineage. So as you do these movements, like for instance, if I just do some Hindu push-ups, right? If I just do this, in a sense, right? I'm gonna tap into that wrestler Kushti ancestral DNA, right? Just by me doing that. So you gotta know what is impactful for your culture, okay? What is truly impactful for your culture, because these things are powerful, right? Now, there's different movements you could be doing, but I just wanna show you a few stretches here that can be very, very powerful for you, okay? So one is basically like one leg to one side. Okay, let me just put this a little bit lower so you guys can actually see this. So one leg to one side and the side here. Okay, stretch to one side, but then you also want to tap. Okay, tap, stretch to one side, stretch to the other side. Open the legs up like this and start tapping. Lower back. Now if you just do this, right, you're already feeling the energy. To do more of this kind of stuff, I'm doing a program for just movement, okay? Just movement-based flow practices. I think it's very difficult to hear because all the cars are coming past. So I am going to be moving around because it helps me to move around and talk. But I just want to show you guys a few of these exercises, right, that can just help you amplify that state of mind. Like for instance, this is another one, right, which is very powerful. Okay, so you basically put your legs down like this. Okay. That's also a really simple one, but you want your spinal fluid, the cerebral spinal fluid, to be flowing the top of your head so you can actually access your intelligence and intellect, right? Let me just get up. Let me see if I check everything. Yeah, I did. Always got to check that, man. When you're leaving the house, you got to have keys, phone, okay, wallet if you have it, all these things, man. You gotta keep it mindful. You gotta have little cues that you tell yourself, right? Little cues of behavior that tell you certain things. This makes me feel a lot more relaxed, actually, and speak a lot more clearer to you guys. Opening up my throat chakra, bro. Straight up. So, this stuff is fascinating, right? And once you realize the fascination of this, you can actually take different actions, okay, depending on what you feel is the most appropriate for you. Because what's most appropriate for you might be just appropriate for you and not somebody else. This is why you need coaching. This is why you need mentoring. This is why you need someone to point out your blind spots, that maybe you're doing something that somebody else isn't. You know what I mean? So if you do it based on what somebody else is doing and not what you're doing, then it's going to take you away from the actual path working that you have set for yourself, right? In a sense. So that's really important to understand too. And also, once you understand how to activate these energies that are more hidden, more dormant to you, you know, energies that seem like they're actually captive or stored in the body in some sense, right? Like stuck up in the head or in your gut or in your lower belly. These energies, you know, when you're fighting, right? You have a mass, a center of mass. Where is your center of mass? 2 inches below your belly button. In ancient China, it's called lower dantian. Okay? In the Vedic or the Hindu system, the Tantric system, you call it the sacral chakra, right? Usually that area is your center of mass. Where do waiters hold their plates? At the center of mass. That's why they can hold it so easily. Okay? Either up here at the core or a little bit lower, right? Right here. And so understanding that that's like the engine or the reservoir, usually associated with the kidney meridian, okay? So that's like your energy, right? Your reservoir of chi that's just sitting there, right? This prana that's just sitting there, bro. And you've got to access that thing. It's not going to be easy.
Action area move down
Hey, action area. Action area 1 ওইদিকে বোঝায় দেখো so in a sense you want to be understanding towards where your sacral energy is actually moving to, whether you can actually bring it up to the heart and have it access. You can access that through your mind, through your head, right? And once you can do that, that'll also give you a great superpower in terms of how to effectively do this thing, okay? Oh great, there's some open space here, finally. Jeez, man. I'm wanting some open space where I can just freely talk. Let's get it. Up with Spiral Gang. Okay? Gang! So, the unfair advantage you want to give yourself. Let's go back to the idea of social conditioning, okay? The idea of social conditioning is skewing a lot of people, especially brown guys. Especially brown guys, because we haven't done the true inner work yet. A lot of us haven't. We realize that there are certain aspects of our culture, like, that are already predetermined. If I go to another culture, they have an idea of what Indian guys are like. And you know what they're like? They think that all us Indian guys are like a specific way, right? They think that we're smelly, that we're all the stereotypes that we incorporate, right? That we have bad genetics, that we're skinny, that we, in a sense, we can't grow muscle that easy. All these are lies, right? All of these don't make sense, because look at some of these bodybuilders and look at some of these, people on TikTok. Again, that might be steroids or whatever, but at the same time, it's like you got to understand, like, where are people actually coming from? Like, for instance, in my personal journey, I noticed my testosterone was super low, like in the 200s. Then I tried to actively go on some regimen and do some things and naturally get it up. Now it's at least at like 550 or something like that. I still want to improve it to a greater level. I noticed my testosterone, free testosterone, is lower, like in its percentage. So now I have to I have a lot of testosterone in my body that's unactivated, that's not being used, and that comes from lifestyle, right? So now I'm slowly, like, really merging and doubling down on the lifestyle. As much as I love to serve clients and things like that, I serve clients better when I'm feeling sharp, when I'm feeling majestic, and when I have my energy up, okay? So that's what I'm doing. I'm fully delving down into the craft, into the magical experience of flow state, which a lot of people aren't looking at the occult side of things, right? They're just looking surface level at the science. Yeah, it's cool that you have all of these flow triggers, but what good is it if you're just logically thinking about it and you can't even access the present moment, right? Look at these little prickly, man. plants. And we got the obstacle remover right here, you know, protecting this channel, this YouTube channel, but also understanding the majestic quality of this, you know, this experience that we call life. Let's start to understand that a lot better. Let's start to speak as a flow Jedi speaks, which is free, which is open, which is expansive, which is not stifled and feeling inwards and feeling like, you know, I have all this chaos inside me. You have to become a little bit like a person who understands the entropy of things, like the randomness, the distortion, the disorder in life, the entropy that shows up. You have to have there's just something called a spontaneous reaction, right? So you have to have a spontaneous reactivity to the moment, whatever it is. And sometimes that might not be the most suited reaction, right? You start yelling at the top of your lungs at something, which clearly is some kind of a pain body attack or a trauma response of yours that's coming up. Let me slow down a little bit. I know we were talking about the language and how it would change us in terms of this. Like if we speak to ourselves differently, we'll get different results. But let's start to slow down and actually ask ourselves, what are things we can do for our self-care and mental well-being, okay? One of the things is fitness in any shape or form, okay? It doesn't have to be sports, doesn't have to be going to the gym, doesn't have to be only swimming, doesn't have to be anything like that. I use a combination approach, okay? I use something called flow training, doing Pai Daijin, doing yoga, doing bioenergetics, okay? I'm experimenting. Why? Because once you go on this experimental trip, then you can come up with your own method. And when you can come up with your own method and you're a rebel like myself, you can understand that some teacher yelling at you to do something, maybe you have this thing against authority figures, right? Like I know I used to have this big thing against authority figures because I didn't really like the way that schools treated me, right? And some of the teachers, they always told me, oh, you have so much potential, you have so much this, you have so much that. But I never felt that, you know, really come across. I know I have some favorite teachers too, you know, like shout out to some of my theater teachers. This is why teachers are so important, man. You get what I mean? Because these teachers inspired me to follow the route that I'm following today, to this day. If it hadn't been for my dope improv theater teachers, if it hadn't been for, you know, the teachers that taught me psychology that I loved, if it hadn't been for those lit English teachers, you know, literature, right? English teachers, man, I don't know where I'd be today, you know? And that's the thing, man. We had dope teachers in certain subjects that just spoke to us and resonated with us. But also, we got to understand, if we had a skill set already, a calling, an inkling, a moving towards that subject, then we also crushed it, regardless of the teacher. So yes, the mentor, the teacher is important, but it's also how much you engage and involve yourself in a specific craft of yours, right? And once you understand that, hey, if it sounds like it's work for others, but this thing is play for me, right? I'm not taking this as seriously. I'm actually finding a way to relax, just like in yoga, right? I did some yoga this morning. And I recognize, man, I'm finding more of a rhythm into it, like kind of how dervish dancers like spin around, you know? And I'm doing the movement and I'm finding that rhythm pocket of the inhale, exhale, contraction, and expansion. And like finding the midpoint, the sweet spot where I'm feeling really good in terms of the stretch. And it's not stretching so much that it's pulling my ligaments apart, but it's also not too soft, right? We as a culture become weak and soft, very dough-like, okay? Very comfortable in our own ways. And our mind thinks of 1,000 different fucking excuses, right? To not get out of the house, to not do this, to not take action. And we have a million reasons why our mind is just spinning with all these different ideas. By the way, it's Holy on the 8th, okay? And I see a lot of people already out here celebrating with colors, which is wild to me. But anyway. What are some things you can do for self-care? Being out in the sun like this, okay? General well-being and fitness. Drinking water, okay? Electrolytes in the water to make up for the lack of hydration if you're not drinking enough water. Or coconut water, right? Like we have here in India, we could just freely get coconut water in a lot of different places. You go down the corner of the street, there's probably a man chopping coconuts, right? And you just allow yourself to enjoy that beverage. to make up for that, that hydration which we need in the sunlight, right? If you're in the sun, you also need to balance out the hydration. So again, action, reaction, okay? You start to understand that there's a lot of different things that you could be doing that actually impact you on a very visceral, connective level, right? Like we call it connective tissue, okay? So that means that one part of your body is connected with another part of the body. It's all integrative, right? Medicine is integrative. It's not one thing. So if you're only doing, crunches and trying to get your abs done, nah, man, try that out, okay? You might get some results, but you're not gonna get that connectivity. If you're not doing back exercises for your abs, like you're donezo, okay? So that's it. Like, you gotta understand how everything is so interconnected. And in terms of self-care, man, maybe watching anime at 4 a.m. in the morning is your type of self-care, okay? Now, don't let somebody tell you that this is the right way to do self-care. Self-care can also be like you stating a boundary that sounds very difficult to say in that moment, and it might offend the other person, but it's gonna offend you more. Trust me. It's gonna offend you more later on in the future when you have that resentment that you didn't actually say that thing. Years into the future, where you feel that resentment and regret and bitterness. I think that's way worse than, like, look, there's no such thing as the agony of defeat in my world. Yes, I'll let myself feel defeated in that moment, but I'll get up and brush myself off, and that's always been the mentality. You get what I mean? The mentality's been one of, okay, look, when I'm going around here, right, all these groups of friends that are basically fucking around and not doing anything, right? They're just like taking photos and like smoking pot and like, going watching movies and like shopping and all this other stuff. They're all concerned with what I'm doing right now. Like, there's at least 15 people here in this environment that I see right now who are all paying attention to me rather than what they're doing in their own experiences. Why is that? Why is that? Is my life holding up a video camera like this, like, is that really that interesting compared to your lifestyle, your life, and what you're doing? You get what I mean? But again, it's the energy, it's the infectiousness and the contagiousness of something that is within you that you've been holding yourself back for, which can be easily accessed once you accept all of you. Accept all of you, okay? When you see the little crevice of a little, dot or a mole on your shoulder, you gotta love that thing, man. Don't be like, oh, I'm gonna get it laser removed. I'm gonna, it's awful. I feel bad about it. Oh, my tits aren't big enough. Oh, my shoes don't fit. Oh, oh, I have a lot of sweat that I perspire a lot. Oh man, I have this, this infection that's just been growing and it's causing me a lot of pain. Yes, I get it. We all have different things with which we distance ourselves and separate ourselves in our body. You got to understand something. Cancer is entropy. It is a disharmoniousness of the entire system. It's like a warning sign from your body, right? Cancer cells. And again, that's very reductionist, and I don't want to say this as a medical advice, right, in a sense. But if you look at some of Dr. Bruce Lipton's stuff and what he says around this, you'll be surprised, okay? Trust me, you'll be surprised, because a lot of this is about our mental faculties and how well they interact with our bodily or physical faculties, okay? A lot of overweight people, what are they trying to do? They're trying to ground themselves to reality, so they eat more food to make themselves feel safe. Procrastination, boredom, fatigue, okay? Apathy, lack of excitement, anxiety, depression, all these negative symptoms of suffering, they all come from one thing: fear. Fear, fight or flight, simplified. Okay? Sympathetic body system, fight or flight. Okay? That's what we can boil it down to. So you've got to go from a fear state of mind to a flow state of mind. This has been my mission and message on this channel. If you want to walk away with one thing today, it's to feel the fear and do it anyway. It's to feel that hesitation, and in that moment, you find the ease, you find the beauty, you find the resonance in that, in the entropy, in the disharmony. When you feel very sad, when you feel low, when you feel lonely, you find a way to re-engage with your whole system and accept all of you. I was looking at my feet, man, like, oh man, my toenail is crusty, or like, you know, I have this thing wrong with me, all right? And I notice all of these things that I'm noticing, and I'm like, yo, no wonder that they're like that. I haven't been mindful, and I haven't been giving them the attention that they deserve. When you love something, you give it more attention, do you not? You give it the time of your day. When you're in love with someone, they take up a majority of your thoughts, right? So you could say like, oh, if I love myself, am I just thinking of myself all the time? No, because I'm more tapped into the Buddhist affectionate love of equilibrium. You get what I mean? Like, I'm not looking at love as this like the pheromones going off and the neurochemicals, or like this romantic idealism, right? Or like floating on a Disney cloud or something like this. Bro, no. I'm not, you know, getting up and start dung 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 dung, right? Dancing behind trees like Bollywood to experience love. No. I notice this essence, this energy of love that ripples across the planet that I know other people can feel as well. And we try to understand it through poetry or music or all these other ways, but it's something that is undescribable. I think it's this sense of unity and interconnectedness that we all feel. That's true love. When we recognize something in someone else, bro, I love you, right? Namaste is another way of saying I love you. I see the light in you. I see the love in you. The love in you that exists is a love in me that exists. Love must stay, okay? And love must stay. Because if it goes, you're disconnected from source. If you don't have love for this experience called life, this beautiful, undulating, rhythmical, majestic, but also chaotic experience that we call life, that it's not perfect, but it is perfectly imperfect. That everything seemingly comes together in the end. That these are all little projections and aspects of our behavior being bad. Like all the people littering here on the floor, that's just a result of bad behavior patterns, right? That have been overlooked. We are able to point the fingers, be aware of ourselves, and be like, yo, you know what? I'm gonna actually improve this thing. I'm actually gonna get better from this. And here we go again. So right now, I'm gonna be super conscious, okay? Supra conscious about ending this video. Let's get it, upward spiral.